So one is not here trying to fact check what Prithviraj Chavan said, but honestly trying to understand why he said these things. Who does it suit? Who is the audience? What benefit does it get him or the Congress party? Joining me live, Colonel S. Dinny is an Indian Army veteran, defense analyst, and also a member of the BJP. Sanjay Jha is a political analyst, formerly with the Congress party. Sanjay, I'd like to start it off with you. Not getting into the facts of what Prithviraj Chavan has spoken, because they're all easily refutable. And I was there and I've reported on these. I've asked questions of the government and the military when it comes to Operation Sindoor. What was this about, Sanjay? I mean, not a loaded question. Prithviraj Chavan is someone I have known, I've interviewed. He's a sober elder, does not seek headlines, does not seek, confrontation or controversy. What was this about?
Shiv, good evening to you and to my co-panelist on the program. I heard how the BJP reacted to Mr. Chavan's interview in Marathi, which he gave locally here in Maharashtra. Let me put it in perspective, and I need to be very forthright here. Understandable that the BJP has always treated the Indian armed forces as if it is part of its larger political strategy. I think we need to decouple that. The Indian Defense Services and its brave army is not part of the conversation that Mr. Chavan is talking about. What did he really mention? And this is important, and I need to put it in the public domain. I don't want to get into the politics of BJP, who haven't even apologized for Pulwama or Pahalgam or taken any accountability. Let's forget that. I want to tell you 4 very short publicly established facts that cannot be refuted. Number 1, on the day that the ceasefire was announced on May 10th, Shiv, General VP Malik, I'm sure you read his tweet, expressed a lot of shock, and I have a lot of respect for Mr. Malik. I have met him before, General Malik rather. He was the Chief of Army Staff during the Kargil War. And he asked a very pertinent question. What did we achieve by this suddenly abrupted ceasefire? Number 1. Number 2, you have the Chief of Defense Staff, General Chauhan, who in Singapore said that yes, some jets were lost and we had to do a recalibration of our military strategy. And India was successful in going ahead and bombing the terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan. I don't think we are even debating the success of the armed services. Point number 3, you had a very responsible Captain Shiv Kumar, part of the defense attaché in Indonesia, who said that there was political intervention that prevented the Indian army from going ahead with its logical conclusions as to how far they would have taken the military conflict. Point number 4, and this is the other worrisome point. I'm not even getting down to how many times Trump publicly kind of said that Modi was responsible for the ceasefire. This is an official document, Chip. And let me end with this. US congressional document, I'm sure you are aware of that, which came out in November, and this is what it says. This is the view of the US government, which means it is supported by the entire Western media and the Western political systems. And it said, Pakistan's military success over India showcased Chinese weaponry. I can tell you in conclusion, India did well, our defense services were brilliant, but we allowed Pakistan in misinformation, disinformation or information war to kind of actually neutralize all the good work that we did.
But Sanjay, I've allowed you to complete your point because I always know that you make sensible points. And all of the points that you've just raised are correct points, but there is a vast distance between the legitimate points that you've raised and the black and white things that Prithviraj Chavan has said. India was defeated on the first day. Our Air Force was grounded. We could not hit back. We lost, many planes on the second day. We couldn't do anything. The army did not do anything. Why don't we redeploy them on other work? Colonel Dinny, there are questions to be asked. I have raised them on my show repeatedly after coming back after 30 days in Kashmir. But this was not an inquiry. This was not a fair-minded questioning of the system.
Oh, absolutely, Shiv. You have covered this particular conflict, and also you would remember the India-China conflict as well.
Yeah.
Nobody is against asking questions. Not even the armed forces. The armed forces are part of the same system. We are a democratic country, so there is no armed forces personnel will ever say that why ask questions. That is not the issue. Here, Mr. Chavan has not asked questions. He has made a statement that on the first day of the conflict, we were defeated. He said that to the words to that effect that no aircraft could fly. I mean, no aircraft could fly on the first day. That's a statement which he's made. From where has he got this information? Like rightly you said at the start of your program, it's actually becoming, it's time wasting again to go back to the same incident, to revisit all those things. So what happens to all those fighter pilots who had flown all those aircrafts? What happened to those 9 terrorist camps? How were they bombed? If nothing was on air and nothing happened, we were defeated the first day itself.
Yeah.
What happened? How could 12 of the air bases were destroyed? Didn't he see the photographs of the runways? Did he see the photographs of the hangars? Did he see the photographs of the terrorists being, after the last raids where the uniformed soldiers are standing? Are they not facts? Are they not proof? Now, and can he show even one person, one Indian Air Force or Indian armed person who were killed during this operation? One. I'm asking one, not a single. So where is the question of being defeated? The whole world knows, and I have seen your couple of programs in which you have brought the best of the best aviation experts, and they have said that this is one of the operation in which many of the nations could not even fathom that how did they go about and do this kind of operation. So a classical operation in which Indian Air Force stood out in every sphere of whatever they did, has now the narrative has been shifted to, we have lost aircraft. From day one, we have lost aircraft. This is the narrative being said. And unfortunately, knowingly or unknowingly, we are playing into the hands of the Pakistanis. What Mr. Jha has said is right. Information warfare, they are far ahead of us. And that is why Mr. Munir is become the field marshal.
Yeah.
After losing a war, because he could make this propaganda, he's been promoted himself to a field marshal. Now, who supports this kind of propaganda in India? Who is asking about the number of aircrafts who were down? We have been covering so many operations across the country, across the world. Do you know one example in which the opposition constantly asked how many aircraft did we lose? Nobody ever said that this was an operation which was done well.
No, you're right. The question you're asking is a correct one, Sanjay. I'm not. You know me well. You've known me for years. I feel information warfare is a secondary concern. I'm not even going to sit here and say one should not say this because Pakistan will take benefit from it and use it against us, because many a times there are questions that the opposition must ask which Pakistan might pick up. That shouldn't stop the opposition from asking questions. But these are preposterous claims that have been made by someone as senior and sober and usually measured as Prithviraj Chavan. There is a huge difference between some propagandist troll on social media and someone of the stature of a Prithviraj Chavan saying India was defeated and the Indian army did nothing during Operation Sindoor. Those are very, very far from the things you've raised, Sanjay.
Yeah, Shiv, let me tell you, even I have a lot of respect for you, and I think the gentleman from the BJP is equally sounding nuanced. But I'll tell you where the problem lies. The elephant in the room is this. Donald Trump went on, he had the audacity actually to go to the UN General Assembly and talk about 7 jets. He didn't mention which country, of course, but he said
it's
7
Trump,
jets were brought.
Sanjay, it's Trump.
Just let me finish. Just let me finish it.
You've seen what he's just said about Karl Reiner.
I'm telling you what is the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is when Trump makes preposterous statements or outrageous statements. Narendra Modi, as India's Prime Minister, has failed the country in not taking him head on.
But that is not Prithviraj Chavan's complaint. That is not his complaint, Sanjay.
Well, let me tell you, this is what fuels international conversations. I'll give you an example. Look at the Brazilian president. Look at the presidents or prime ministers of every country. Whether Trump threatens them on tariff or military confrontation, they have looked at him eyeball to eyeball and responded. India has been cornered, and you know that, Shiv. If you look at the current situation, Pakistan is whining and dining with both China and America.
But Sanjay, that's a legitimate question for the government. But what Prithviraj Chavan has done, and I am not usually given to sentimentalism, I don't believe that at all. As a defense correspondent of many years, I believe the armed forces must definitely be questioned at every turn, and they deserve to be held accountable for everything that happens in a democracy. But my question is, the words of someone like a Prithviraj Chavan today don't hurt the government. They actually hurt only the armed forces by saying
I definitely feel
they were
that
defeated.
We should not.
The army didn't do anything. Maybe they can be given some other work. Who talks like that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on one thing completely, Shiv. that while it's okay to question the government and the BJP 100%, the BJP for sure, because I think the colonel on the program will know better than me, that I think this political party has actually exploited military success for its political gains, which is terribly immoral in my opinion. I would never do that. But here is my point. I
Let him
agree
answer
with you
that.
I agree with you that Mr. Chavan should have been a lot more conservative when making these statements because he's a very respected gentleman. He's a senior colleague and a very dear friend of mine. And it can be subject to political exploitation, starting with the BJP.
And it is. Are you even surprised by? But yeah, I'm almost out of time. Colonel Dinny, you want to take the final word? Also, the direct question that Sanjay asked you.
No, absolutely. See, as far as politicization goes, Indian Armed Forces, I can speak of Indian Armed Forces first, that no matter which government comes, Indian Armed Forces will do what they're supposed to do. That's period. Whether it is the Congress government 1971, whether it is Vajpayee government 1999, and now the present Modi government, they will do what they want. But what has changed now is that by constantly attacking Mr. Modi, Mr. BJP, now the attack is now directly to the armed forces. Now that is what Mr. Jha, I'm sure you will also appreciate, that saying that the Air Force was defeated in the first day, saying that 12 to 13 lakhs of Indian Army person did nothing. That is not attacking Mr. Modi. That is not attacking the BJP. That is attacking the Indian Armed Forces. That is what I'm not happy with. And people like me are, raising their voice about that. And that too, like what Shiv said, coming from a person of Mr. Chavan's stature, he's not an ordinary politician. He's well educated, Bits Pilani, and you know what. So now, from a person like him saying, that means there is something wrong, which really needs to be addressed, and that's the core of the issue.
Shiv, in my opinion, in India, we need to have more nuanced conversations. Things have become so polarized and ugly.
I agree.
I think it's important to have disciplined, mature conversations. We can agree to disagree like the way we are doing on the program today. I mean, we agree on some things, we disagree on some.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a mature, very, shall we say, candid talk where we can actually say we agree on many points, but yes, on some, they're subject to their own subjectivity, which is okay.
This is one show where, I can imagine, I don't watch other channels at this point of time because I'm anchoring, obviously, but I'm sure that on other channels, there will be anchors jumping up and down, expressing kind of farcical outrage over these comments. And that usually is the easy way out. Sanjay, you know this very well because you're a frequent denizen of those debates. But here we're talking about a sober guy like Prithviraj Chavan, a guy who's been chief minister, very respected. Journalists love him because he's so approachable, so accessible. As Colonel Dinny said, he's not seen as a hawk when it comes to these kinds of things, avoids controversy, generally media shy, and yet he comes out in a very out of character way, says these things. It just makes you wonder what is actually going on. Why would something like this happen? Why would a topic like this actually come up? I think Sanjay is right when he says we live in extremely polarized times. I'll give the last word to Colonel Dinny on this. Any final words on this? Operation Sindoor, 8 months out, is still a hot topic where the two parties are attacking each other.
See, Shiv, and I'm sure Mr. Jha would agree that Operation Sindoor was one of the classical operations carried out by the Indian Armed Forces. The Indian Air Force did, what they did. The Indian Army did what they did, and the Indian Navy was poised to do what they were supposed to do. But the fact is that we could achieve the results, and the results was there to be seen. That's why the Air Chief Marshal said the ghost of Balakot has been buried forever. That's what he said. So the point is that today the whole world recognizes Indian Armed Forces for the operation which was carried out during Operation Sindoor, the professionalism which they showed, and also one thing which we must appreciate, Shiv. It is very easy to start a conflict. The way we stop the conflict, that also is a classical case, because in front of us there are n number of operations which are carrying on for months together. But here we did what we were supposed to do and we finished it. And that message has gone across to Pakistan. And I'm sure, I'll just end with one last statement, that today the US defense agencies, cooperative agencies, they have released $685 million to repair and refit F-16 aircraft and maintenance. Yeah. And that actually shows that there was a heavy damage which was carried out by our Indian Air Force, bombing and other things which happened. That is today's news. So everything you will take into consideration. Operation Sindoor is
Okay.
a landmark operation, and there is no doubt about it.
We leave it there. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
This was a mature discussion. I'm out of time, but Sanjay, we'll have you back. We'll continue this maybe another day, but thank you very much to both Colonel Dinny and Sanjay for being with me. The buck stops here with Padmaja Joshi. Comes up next. Thanks for watching.